Hi, Radiant Leo Soul. This isn't just another astrology video. This is an urgent wake-up call from the universe. Something powerful is unfolding right now. Can you feel it? The shift isn't coming. It's already happening. You didn't click this video by accident. Not today. Not at this exact moment. What if I told you this is the universe responding to something deep inside you? A quiet decision, a silent longing, a soul-level desire you haven't spoken out loud yet, but you've felt it. You've been sensing that something within you is beginning to change. And you're right. If your inner fire has been flickering more than usual, if your dreams feel louder and more urgent, then let this moment be your confirmation. You're not imagining it. This is your sacred check-in. A cosmic invitation. And you, Leo, the one who was born to shine, are being asked to remember your light, not the surface-level glow, but the kind of brilliance that burns from within. The kind that illuminates everything around it without asking for permission. Here on Eternal Mindfulness, we don't just read horoscopes. We awaken power. We untangle the cosmic patterns to help you reconnect with your true path. And today's energy isn't just any forecast, it's a message meant specifically for you. So before we dive in, take a breath. Center yourself. Let your awareness land right here, right now. And if your heart resonates even a little, if you feel that tug, that spark, that soft thud of recognition, then type it out in the comments. I'm ready to live as the brightest version of me. Because declaring your readiness out loud activates more than words, it opens energetic gates. And now, allow me just a moment to say thank you. Truly. Your presence here matters more than you know. Every like, every comment, every share, every new subscriber, we feel you. You are helping this space grow into a sanctuary. A virtual temple where minds awaken, hearts open, and energies align. I mean this with all sincerity, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your support breathes life into this channel and allows us to bring these transformative messages to souls who are ready, like you. And trust me, Leo, you'll want to stay until the very end of today's reading. Because what the universe is about to reveal? It's not just a message. It's a mirror. It's a map. And it's a moment of activation you do not want to miss. So tell me, my bold and brilliant Leo, what burning truth led you here today? Let's find out together. There's a strange sense of stillness that often comes right before everything begins to change. Not the stillness of peace, but the kind that vibrates softly beneath the surface, like the breath the earth takes just before the sunrise. That's the space many of you may be feeling right now. A space between stories. Between who you've been, and who you're becoming. And Leo, more than most, you feel this tension as both a pull and a push. A whisper from within that says, there's more. You were never meant to dim. When we speak of the sun, the celestial ruler of Leo, we're not only referring to light and brilliance. We're speaking of identity. Of that deep and undeniable force that says, this is who I am. The sun doesn't ask for permission to rise. It simply does. And that is precisely the energy stirring within you now. But just as the sun rises gradually, first the glow, then the warmth, then the full blaze, You too are being asked to step into your center with intention. No rush, no need to prove anything. Just readiness. A readiness to let go of outdated roles and outdated voices that no longer echo your truth. This particular alignment, the energetic tension between the Sun and Uranus, is gently unzipping the layers of shoulds and musts that you may have inherited or unconsciously carried. It is shaking loose what no longer resonates, not to punish, but to make space for the real. For the free. For the authentic expression of your path. If you felt unusually restless, uncertain, or called to change something you can't yet define, this is the cosmic undercurrent at work. It's not confusion. It's preparation. The Hermit appears in this reading not as a symbol of loneliness, but as a guide into quiet clarity. The kind of solitude that invites you to hear your own voice again. This card is often misunderstood. Its lantern isn't lighting up the path ahead, it's illuminating the present moment. Where you are, right now. And often, that's the exact space where true transformation begins. Because clarity isn't found in the noise of the world. It comes in silence. In stillness. In honest self-inquiry. What do you truly want, Leo? Not for others to applaud, but for your soul to feel aligned. Then, the Strength card emerges, not coincidentally, a card deeply connected to Leo's essence. But this strength isn't about domination or perfection. It's about gentle discipline. The kind of calm power that tames the wild within, not through force, but through presence. This is the strength of staying. Of breathing when all you want to do is run. Of choosing grace when reaction feels easier. It's not about conquering the outside world, but about leading the inner one with kindness and steadiness. Like the calm center of a storm. And when the chariot rides in, it signals motion. Progress. A new momentum, but not wild, aimless movement. This is the kind that comes after clarity and calm. The chariot doesn't move because it's running from something. It moves because it knows what it's moving toward. And that's the message for you now. Don't act just for the sake of doing. Act because you know your why. Because your inner compass is aligned. There's a quiet teaching, often shared in whispers rather than words. When the time is right, right action becomes effortless. You don't need to chase the river. You become the flow. This is the inner shift taking place now, not a revolution of noise, but a revolution of rhythm. And in that rhythm, your true light begins to rise, not as a performance, but as a natural consequence of remembering who you really are. Stay with this feeling. Because when the world begins to move again, and it will, it's your alignment, not your effort, that will determine how far and how gracefully you go. Sometimes, the softest lessons come wrapped in the armor we built long ago. When it comes to love, especially for a Leo, the heart doesn't just beat, it radiates. It longs to give fully, to be seen deeply, and to be cherished without condition. But over time, even the brightest hearts gather shadows. Disappointment, misunderstanding, betrayal, they all leave behind traces. So it's only natural that at some point, love becomes something we approach with caution. We wear pride not as a celebration, but as a shield. Yet what if the very protection we've clung to is the same thing that now stands in the way of the connection we most crave? The message of the Lover's card is more than romance. It is an invitation into wholeness. For those in relationships, this means stepping out of autopilot. Presence, not performance, breathes life back into love. It's easy to say, "I love you," but are we truly hearing each other? Truly seeing each other? Or are we projecting assumptions, responding to old patterns rather than the real person in front of us? Sometimes love needs less noise, and more stillness, a silent gaze, a gentle hand, a moment where ego melts and only tenderness remains. If you are walking the path alone right now, this card offers something even more precious, the reminder that love doesn't arrive when we need it. It arrives when we're truly ready to receive it. Not as a rescue, but as a reflection. To love again, especially after pain, is an act of bravery. But it is also an act of clarity. You are not required to forget the past in order to open to the future. You only need to stop allowing it to define what is possible. Loving again doesn't mean erasing the scars. It means understanding that scars are not signs of weakness, they are the symbols of your growth. In the gentle teachings of the heart, we find a parallel truth: attachment breeds suffering, but connection without grasping leads to peace. True love is not about ownership, it's about presence. It is the capacity to hold space for another's becoming without losing sight of your own. And it begins with being fully present with yourself. Ask yourself, am I available to love, or only longing to be loved? The difference is subtle, but powerful. This week's number, 6, is the frequency of harmony. In numerology, it calls for balance, compassion, and the willingness to give from a full cup. Not as martyrdom. Not as a transaction. But as an overflow. When you love from a place of self-alignment, your love is clean. It has no need to manipulate or prove. It simply is. And from that space, the right people find you, not because you chase, but because you resonate. The law of attraction responds not to what we beg for, but to what we believe we are worthy of. When you visualize love, not tied to a name or face, but as an energy, you begin to vibrate at the same frequency as that experience. That's not magic. That's resonance. So each day, take a moment to visualize how it would feel to be loved fully, not where, not by whom, just the feeling. Let that become your signal to the universe: I am ready for love that matches my light. You don't need to rush it. Love is not a finish line. It's a rhythm. And when the heart is ready, even the smallest moment, an unexpected glance, a quiet kindness, can become the beginning of something extraordinary. Let your heart be open, not because you're waiting to be chosen, but because you've already chosen yourself. And in that wholeness, love can finally flow in all the ways it was always meant to. Momentum isn't always loud. Sometimes, it begins as a quiet inner knowing, a nudge that says, what I'm doing now isn't where I'm meant to stay. If you felt that inner tension lately, the kind that pulls between the safety of the familiar and the pull of something bolder, it's not a mistake. That tension is a signal. And for a Leo, ruled by the sun and born with the blueprint of leadership, creativity, and presence, ignoring that call can feel like slowly dimming your own light. Work and career, for you, are never just about earning a paycheck. They're about impact. About expressing your essence in a way that makes a difference, not just for others, but but for your own sense of alignment. But what happens when your days begin to feel routine, uninspired, or disconnected from your natural brilliance? That's where the magician enters. This card doesn't appear to offer you something you're missing. It appears to remind you of what you already have. Every tool is within reach. Every resource you need is either already with you or ready to be summoned, once you decide to act. What's often misunderstood about breakthroughs is that they don't usually arrive through grand gestures. They arrive through consistency, through small, intentional choices stacked daily like stones along a new path. Just like the way a single drop of water can eventually shape stone, your tiny, 1% efforts, when repeated with focus and integrity, can create results more powerful than anything rushed or reactive. The magician invites you to begin, even if it's messy, even if it's uncertain. Especially if it scares you a little. Because courage doesn't mean having no fear. It means acting anyway, from a place of clarity. In teachings that emphasize awareness, there's a beautiful idea that your thoughts are seeds and your actions are water. What you tend to grows. And in your professional life, that means being mindful of what kind of seeds you're planting. Are your actions today aligned with the future you're asking for? Or are they reinforcing the very cycle you're trying to break? This is a moment for inquiry, not judgment. A time to step back, observe your routines, and ask, what am I creating with the energy I bring to my work each day? When it comes to finances, the Two of Pentacles offers a gentle reminder. Balance is not about perfection, it's about rhythm. Money, like breath, is meant to flow. Holding it too tightly can create stagnation, but releasing it without intention creates depletion. Think of money as energy, not something to chase, but something to align with. When you're spending, saving, and investing reflect your values, money becomes a reflection of inner order rather than outer chaos. Budgeting, then, isn't punishment, it's mindfulness. It's making space for your abundance to expand safely. And let's not forget, the law of attraction, when filtered through the Leo spirit, becomes a force of nature. You have a natural magnetism, but it isn't activated by hoping, it's activated by believing. When your actions are rooted in joy, authenticity, and service, opportunities begin to gravitate toward you, not as coincidence, but as consequence. It's less about doing more and more about aligning better. The path you've been postponing? The project that excites and scares you at once? That might just be your soul reminding you of your purpose. So write it down. The 3 things you want to create this year. Be bold, be specific, and be kind to yourself in the process. If all you can do today is one tiny action in their direction, that's enough. Because over time, one small flame, tended with care, can light the way for everything that's coming. Not every kind of fire is meant to blaze outward. Some flames are meant to sustain you quietly from within, like the steady glow in the center of a lantern, small but unwavering. For someone born under the Leo sign, giving energy to others comes naturally. You're ruled by the sun, after all, and your nature is to shine, to inspire, to light up the path for those around you. But even the sun must rest behind the clouds sometimes, not because it's weakened, but because everything in nature thrives through balance, light and shade, action and rest, giving and receiving. If you've been pouring yourself into your work, your relationships, your goals, without taking time to refill your own well, then the Strength card appears now as more than a symbol. It's a mirror. And it's reminding you that real power doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from the soft steadiness that's born of self-respect. There is a deeper kind of courage in slowing down, in tending to your breath, in saying no when your body whispers for space. Sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is honor your limits. Taking care of your body isn't indulgence. It's responsibility. The vessel through which your light moves, your thoughts, your intentions, your kindness, all of it needs a home that's supported and clear. Something as simple as staying hydrated might seem small, but it's part of a bigger practice, awareness. Water is a conductor of energy, and your body is an electrical system. Giving it what it needs allows your intuition to sharpen, your mood to stabilize, and your mind to focus. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. When you sit quietly in meditation or stretch slowly through a few mindful movements, you're not just exercising. You're returning. You're collecting all the scattered pieces of yourself and bringing them back to center. Visualizing a radiant sun at your core while you breathe isn't just metaphorical, it's a way of reawakening that inner source of vitality. The same energy that helps plants grow and seasons change lives in you. But it won't move freely if it's blocked by exhaustion, distraction, or self-neglect. Writing down 3 things you love about yourself each night may feel awkward at first. But over time, it retrains the mind to see yourself through a softer, more compassionate lens. This is especially important if you're someone who often measures worth through achievement or approval. You are not just what you do. You are what you are. And what you are is already enough. This practice isn't about ego, it's about alignment. The more clearly you see your own light, the less you'll seek validation for it outside of yourself. Colors, too, are more than just aesthetic choices. They are frequencies, vibrations that interact with your energy field. Yellow for confidence, orange for creative flow, and purple for deeper insight. Wearing them consciously can act as both intention and affirmation. You're not just putting on a color. You're stepping into a version of yourself that's already there, waiting to be expressed. Care isn't a task. It's a rhythm. One breath at a time, one glass of water, one kind word to yourself. These are not extras. They are the foundation. Because the fire within you, Leo, is sacred. But it needs fuel. Not just ambition, not just passion, but nourishment. And when that fire is cared for, protected, and honored, you don't just shine. You ignite something in everyone around you. That is the power of a soul that knows how to tend to its own flame. There's something unmistakable about the moment before transformation, a kind of stillness that carries weight, like the air right before a thunderstorm. It's not fear exactly, but awareness. A recognition that something is about to shift, and that you're standing right at the edge of it. For many of you, this is where you are now. Not stuck, not lost, but suspended, between what you've known and what you haven't yet dared to step into. This space, while uncomfortable, is not a mistake. It's a threshold. And it asks not for perfection, but for presence. The chariot appears now to remind you that motion doesn't always wait for clarity. Sometimes the way only becomes clear once you start walking. In astrology, the chariot connects beautifully to the energy of forward movement with purpose, and for a Leo, This is about more than charging ahead, it's about aligning action with inner fire. The important thing to remember is that right timing isn't about waiting for ideal circumstances. It's about meeting the moment as it is, and choosing to bring your full self to it, regardless of whether everything feels ready. When you hesitate at the edge of change, it's often because you're waiting to feel confident before you leap. But confidence doesn't precede courage, it follows it. There's a quiet teaching that says, the moment of fear is also the moment of opportunity. They arrive hand in hand. The question that unlocks this energy is deceptively simple: if I weren't afraid, what would I do? This is not about ignoring your fear, but about not giving it the final say. Start there. And then take a single step. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. But you do need to move, deliberately, consciously, even if only slightly. Write down one true desire. Make a phone call you've been avoiding. Clean a space you've neglected. The action itself doesn't need to be grand. It only needs to be aligned. Like placing the first stone in a path that's been waiting for you to begin. You don't need to know where it ends. You only need to start. Momentum builds not from pressure, but from repetition. And what sustains it isn't motivation, it's intention. The purpose behind your movement is what gives it endurance. That's why setting an intention is more than just wishing. It's naming your direction clearly, so that when distractions come, and they will, you remember where you're going and why it matters. In moments of uncertainty, your intention becomes your compass. There's a deeper layer to this kind of movement, one that doesn't rely on external proof or validation. In certain traditions of mindful action, there's a belief that everything arises and passes according to cause and condition. You can't control outcomes. But you can control your effort. You can sow seeds. You can create fertile ground for what wants to grow. That is where your power truly lives, not in the outcome, but in the clarity and care you bring to the process itself. When you choose to act from this space of awareness and courage, you're no longer waiting for life to happen to you. You're participating. You're shaping the path as you walk it. And that's where breakthroughs are born, not from waiting, but from showing up. Repeatedly. Gently. Boldly. Even when it's scary. Especially then. So ask yourself again, what would I do today if I wasn't afraid? Then take one small step in that direction, not because it guarantees success, but because it honors your truth. And if you feel ready to commit to that shift, speak it aloud. Type it below. Let your voice be the bridge between intention and reality. You're not alone in this. And your courage, no matter how quiet, has the power to change everything. When you look back on this moment, this exact space in time, I wonder what it will represent for you. Will it be the moment you simply listened, or the moment you truly answered the call from within? Because if today stirred something in your heart, something unshakable yet hard to name, then you've already begun. You've already said yes in the quietest, most powerful way. And sometimes, that's all the shift needs, a willingness to believe that something more is possible, and that you are worthy of it. You see, the journey doesn't demand perfection. It asks for sincerity. A quiet kind of courage. And you, Leo, have always had that in you. Your sign holds the essence of solar energy, radiant, giving, bold. But even the sun doesn't rise with a roar. It rises with certainty. With consistency. That same light exists within you, not as something you have to prove, but as something you simply are. And the truth is, you never needed anyone's permission to shine. You are the permission. So now, I invite you to let this message settle not just in your mind, but in your daily life. Go back to those 3 intentions you've been called to write. Look at the steps you've been avoiding. Ask yourself with love, not pressure, what am I ready to act on? What am I no longer willing to postpone? Because even one small step, taken with clarity and presence, begins to shift everything. You don't need to know how it will all unfold. You only need to begin. If something in today's reading resonated, if a phrase, a card, a reflection touched you, I invite you to carry it with you as a daily practice. Maybe it's choosing your lucky color with intention tomorrow. Maybe it's writing one sentence in your journal each night. Maybe it's finally making the move you've been quietly preparing for. Big change doesn't require big effort. It requires aligned effort, actions that are rooted in the version of you you're becoming. Let me ask you something. What did this message awaken in you? Is there a part of your life, your health, your relationships, your purpose, that is ready for more light, more clarity, more courage? I would love to know what stood out most for you today. Go ahead, share it in the comments. And not just for me, for yourself. For the part of you that's ready to speak truth into motion. There is power in sharing. There is healing in declaring. And there is alignment in taking even one conscious breath toward your next chapter. Thank you, truly, for spending your energy, your presence, and your heart here with me today. Every single like, comment, and subscribe is more than support. It's part of the energetic exchange that keeps this sacred space alive and growing. Your presence here allows this light to reach others who may need it more than we even know. And for that, I am endlessly grateful. If you haven't yet, I invite you to subscribe and join our community here at Eternal Mindfulness, a space where astrology meets inner transformation, and where every cosmic insight is designed to bring you closer to your truth. Tap the notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming messages the universe is preparing just for you. And Leo, please remember this above all. You were never meant to live in the shadows of someone else's expectations. You came here to lead with light, not because you want attention, but because your light can guide. So go forward, not with pressure, but with peace. Not with fear, but with focus. You are ready. You are radiant. And the world is already shifting in response to your willingness to rise. So tell me, my luminous Leo, what truth are you ready to step into today?